Right now, I think is it 3-0 right now, Tampa, game 4, boys?
Yes, we just said that.
For the fourth time,
well,
yes.
I'm focusing on the show, not the fucking TV, because
Oh,
the
yeah,
TV's over here, so I'm looking. All right, either way, the teams took turns beating up on each other the first couple games. They went down to fucking Tampa. Now it looks like they're going to split the other 2 games. It's going to go at least 6 games. Matthews off and on. Miner off and on.
Watch your mouth.
Oh.
No, I actually, for the first time this podcast, I'll agree on that. It's been the Jekyll and Hyde show with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'll tell you what, I think most of you Leafs fans will agree. Right off that opening faceoff, you saw how fucking revved up Tampa was to go. You saw Ross Colton give McCabe the cross check, and then they ended up tossing the centers. Tampa snaps back the draw. There's no forward split off the draw for Toronto. They look timid. I knew from the fucking minute that puck dropped that Tampa was going to shove one right up their goddamn hoop. So I don't know if they're not passing out the sniffers on games after wins for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't know what exactly Sheldon Keefe is saying before that game in order to prep them. I don't know if the Leafs think that after they beat them a game that they're just going to die over. 15 fucking games in a row that they've lost, they've responded with a win. So if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs coach, I go in that fucking locker room and maybe I chuck a couple water coolers just to get them fired up after a victory, because they fucking just think that they're going to roll over and die. And if I know I sound a little bit irritated right now, but obviously I have taken on this Leafs team. I'm all in on them. I thought 100% they're going to beat the defending champs. I gave it the Charles Barkley guarantee on the TNT broadcast, and now I look like a fucking moron again. So I don't know what their problem is. I don't know what's going on with this Jekyll and Hyde show. You got Vezina type caliber play from Jack Campbell one night, and the next it looks like you got fucking RA in net. After he hit the fucking, well, maybe not a ball hockey. He looks like RA during a fucking ad read for Pink Whitney. That's what he looks like.
Read, RA. Biz, saying, and now we're talking like this game's over, and RA has been the guy for the last 2 to 3 seasons in the NHL that 3-0 early on is not even close to over, especially when RA and Portnoy bet them. So we got 2 periods left. So who knows how this thing ends up, but the effort is amazing. Game 1, Toronto, I shit my pants. I was absolutely losing my mind. I said it on the pod. I go, we could be in trouble here, fellas. And game 2 exactly, went exactly as Tampa always plays after losses. It was very interesting reading. It was Hedman. I was reading an article in The Athletic. It was Hedman talking about how they take these losses personal. And this group that's been through so much together, they look at these losses like slaps in the face. They look at them like complete disrespect. And then they look at themselves in the mirror and they say, we have better and we got to be better. And every single time they do it. And throughout 3 games, man, Vasilevsky's been outplayed big time by Campbell. Big time. Tonight, he wasn't really tested in the first period. We're only at the first intermission. But that team comes back quick and they bounce back and they have a plan for every single game. In this article, they talked about after losses, or after every game, I should say, but especially after losses, they have 5 to 7 minute meetings. In these video meetings, anyone could be called out. It mentions, I think it's Belmar mentions it could be a Stamkos turnover. It could be a Ross Colton turnover. By the way, Ross Colton, New Jersey native. What a fucking hockey player.
Yeah.
He takes that, looks like he broke his nose in the first game on the hit, and he's been a lightning rod.
Probably the Toronto
No
Wolf.
pun intended. Ever since he threw the hit on Giordano, he buried him 10 seconds into the game. Stamkos scores 20 seconds later. So this team has a plan after a loss, and then every single time they just go out and they get it done. So if this game completely switches up and Toronto ends up winning it, that probably is the series, because to come back from 3-0 in Tampa to go up 3-1 in this series would be miraculous. And it'd be, even the Leafs couldn't fucking blow that one. Or could they? But Cooper had an interesting quote going after Campbell a little bit. He said, we've scored 7 goals on him in the last 2 games. So if he's going to sit here and have a 3.5 goals against average in every 2-game set, we'll take that. A little bit of a chirp, Biz is trying to maybe get in his head for a guy who's looked great. Cooper's maybe playing the mind.
You think he's playing
games.
Mental warfare?
Big time.
Coach Bombay's playing mental warfare. I'm shocked. Hey, but I will say, game 2, Like normally Coop's got a bit of a glow on the bench and he doesn't seem like super angry. Game 2, he had a fucking game face on.
Scowl.
But now saying that, you mentioned how they take these losses personal. Kucherov, Hedman, probably the worst 2 players on the ice for the Tampa Bay Lightning in game 1. probably the two best in game 2, led by Victor Hedman, had a monster game. As far as Coop's post-game press conference after game 3, he is just fucking irritated with the amount of penalties that they're taking. It has been a constant parade to the penalty box. It was that way for the Leafs in game 1, but they were able to stave off all those penalties. I thought that 5-minute kill was just so massive, and that's what kind of got the crowd going behind him. But as far as the response in game 4 here, much like game 2, it's just like, what the fuck are you expecting them to do? Not come out and play for their playoff lives? They've been here and done that. It's like, Toronto, you need to be playing for your fucking playoff lives. And I just don't like the response after victories, much like we saw last year against Montreal. Don't take your foot off the gas. Anyway.
Biz, you got to like, though, if this game ends up, you got to like having home ice advantage in a 2 out of 3 set, right? And I said, I think I guaranteed, maybe I didn't guarantee this one. I know I guaranteed Minnesota, St. Louis, and I think I said this one too. Both are going 7. Both are going 7. We knew it before the series started. I really thought this Leafs team, the best Leafs team of all time, I know they're good, and I think this will be a test. I think this is going to go 7. Now, the question is, does Tampa win game 5, right? Because if they lose game 5, the Leafs are completely fucked, right? Because then it's definitely going 7, and then you never know. If they win game 5, the Leafs could also be really fucked, but it could end in 6. I'm basically making no sense, besides the fact that we now know if the Lightning lose, you bet on them the next game. RA, it was his pick of the night, and right now it looks great. So
the only other thing that stood out to me, RA, before I throw it back over to you, is Leafs had that game in game 3 in a stranglehold. It was 3-1. They're on the penalty kill. Okay. Kerfoot has the puck outside the blue line. He has full control of it, nowhere near anybody. And he tries to protect it. And then one of the defensemen comes up, bodies on me, turns it over, goes back the other way, 3-2 game. Was my arsehole puckered up? Oh, it sure was. They ended up holding on to that victory. But for any of you fucking kids listening, just dump the goddamn puck in below the goal line and get the fuck off the ice on a kill. Like, what was he doing there? Did you see that play?
It was the same. It was similar to, like, on a penalty kill today, Trocheck, instead of just putting it softly down the end of the ice, he flips it out of the rink. And the Bruins get a 5-on-3. It's like, when you're on the PK, it is so simple to shoot it on the ice if nobody's near you, down the other end. People get so, I don't know, kind of enamored with, like, making.
It's like when you have, it's like you have too much time and then you're just over. Yeah.
Simple, hard hockey. Simple, hard podcasting. Fucking ad reads. That's what wins games. Yeah. That's what gets people going. And I'll say this: Toronto should still be happy where they're at. I really do think that.
You should take that ad read loss personal, and I hope you bounce back in the next one.
I thought it was trying to be like, oh, soothing and like old school with it.
Well, you weren't.
We're playoff hockey. This is not soothing time.
Fuck you, pay me. All right.
We're not fucking reading by the fire reading a fucking novel.
Wait. All right. What do you think about the Toronto-Tampa series? I try to mix those words, a little collab. Tampa Bay.
I wish that the games were more competitive. I know that, like, it's basically like blowout. Like this is a blowout right now. It's 3-0. I wish they were a little more competitive. But
yeah, and I wish Santa Claus was real. What else you got for us?
Oh, we got youngins listening here, Biz. Fucking spoiler alert. I wanted to ask you, Biz, what did you think of no Spets of the first couple? Then they put them in. They ended up having a little bit different effect.
So I understood why, because I think they wanted to match the physicality, and you saw the pre-quotes before the series started with Keith basically saying, we know it's going to get violent, and we know that, when things get difficult for them, Tampa, they could play any way you want. I know we said that about Calgary all season long, but Tampa, if you want to play that 2-1 shutdown game, they could play it. Now, when he ended up getting sussy the one game, I thought in game 2, I love Simmons. I've been a Simmons fan since his days back in Philly and what he brings to the lineup. He has definitely lost.
Did he ever beat you up, Biz?
No, thank God. Okay. He did laugh at me when I broke my stick over my knee when I had a turnover at the blue line after I fought and gave them momentum when we were up 3-1, and they ended up coming back 4 unanswered. But thanks for bringing it up. But going back to Spezza being back in the lineup, I think that was partly also due to the fact that Simmons took 2 really dumb penalties in game 2. And it cost them. And we talk about undisciplined penalties on both sides of it. We talked about Cooper earlier, but I think that he was one of the best playoff performers for the Leafs last year. I think he had 5 points in the 7 games against Montreal between him and Nylander. And what he does help out is that second unit power play too, because what I was noticing in game 3 was on that second unit, they're able to work it from the other side and also give Tampa a different look. When you're very like one-dimensional and you have the same type of power play, I guess it's probably a lot easier to defend. Well, they were working it from the other side. I noticed they were trying that high tip play a lot, where he would kind of come up off the wall and he would almost like slap pass it towards the net, or if the lane was open, he would just put it to the net. So I love the insertion of him. Was I surprised that they didn't have him off the hop? Absolutely, given last year's playoff performance, but I understood the mentality. After game 2 and the dumb Simmons penalties, I knew he was going to be in game 3. So I think they got to stick with him the rest of the series. Not only that, probably for a calming voice inside that locker room, given that, as much as my arsehole gets puckered up, guys in the Leafs locker room's arsehole get puckered up, and we can see by the display in that first period by them. So I'll throw it back to you, RA. Other than the disappointment and the lack of excitement in these games, which I thought in game 3 it was pretty exciting, what else have you seen from this series?
Honestly, I haven't been that entertained by it, to be frank. It's just been like I said, it's been a blowout, or it's 3-0, 4-0. It's not enough to keep you entertained. I mean, obviously, you want better games out of it, but at the same time, I think it's going to go 6 or 7.
Well, what series has entertained you, RA? Why don't we hop to that? We don't need to talk about Toronto and Tampa. We're only 3 games in. It looks like it's going to be tied 2-2 going back to Toronto.